How to survive. The San Quentin, America's deadliest
area, San Quentin.
Deadliest prison, most dangerous prison. I said deadliest. Let's read here. Let's see this.
In the unlikely event that you're taken hostage while you're inside the prison,
Damn.
the state of California will not negotiate your release for an inmate's release.
Welcome to San Quentin Rehabilitation Center, better known as San Quentin
You're
State
dead.
Prison.
You're shot dead.
A place where even the walls have stories they'd rather forget. This isn't just any prison, it's the end of the line. A fortress of despair that has housed some of the most notorious criminals in history.
Who's that?
Including infamous names like Charles Manson.
Oh.
I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo.
And Richard Ramirez.
I think most humans have the capacity to commit murder.
At one point, back in 2015, San Quentin held almost 700 inmates on death row, making it the largest condemned unit in the Western Hemisphere.
That's crazy.
It was where the state's most dangerous offenders used to await their fate in cells barely larger than a parking space. From the twisted minds of serial killers to the cold calculations of gang leaders, the eerie hallways of San Quentin have seen it all. If these cells could talk, they'd probably scream. Here, survival isn't about ticking off days. It's about making sure those days don't crush you. What survival tactics can mean the difference between life and death within San Quentin's treacherous social hierarchy? How did one inmate's fate become eerily entwined with the very gas chamber he helped construct? And how did the pandemic expose the prison's darkest vulnerabilities, turning it into a ticking time bomb? To uncover these chilling stories and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you have any prison survival stories, let us know in the comments.
I know.
San Quentin opened its iron doors in 1854, making it California's oldest prison.
Oh, wow.
Originally built to relieve overcrowding on prison ships. Yeah, you heard that right, floating jails. The facility quickly became a home for the state's most dangerous offenders. In the early days, barbaric practices like flogging and painful shower baths with pressurized water hoses were common. Hangings were public spectacles, drawing crowds eager for a morbid show. Between 1893 and 1942, California's
y'all saw what happened to Kyle last night? That's crazy. That was a magician.
To deal with
like, I get it, but I don't get it. At the same time, he took it too serious. At the same time, he took it too serious, low key. Kai take it too serious, but then another like, I'm offended because I get it, what Kai's saying, but then he like took it too serious. Like it's a wild magician. It's like David, what's his name? David Blaine. Like stunt looking, so like that's his job. Like he had to go and do the extra thing, but then he did it on live. He did that one trick on live, which is a trigger for a lot of people. I get that, but still, like, I don't know. I'm on the fence, bro. I'm on the fence with that one.
Was the hangman's noose, snapping 215 necks in total. With a history stained in blood, it's no surprise
because at the same time you are literally platforming the ghetto, so like I don't know, bro. Like, didn't Kodak Black do something? Didn't Chris Brown do something? Didn't who else he had? Sexy Red affiliated with something? Didn't who else he had? I don't even know who else he had. Didn't I don't know.
Mates had a fond nickname for it, the Arena. In 1938, the gas chamber was introduced and tested first on a pig, which disturbingly took 34 excruciating minutes to die. So much for quick and painless. And the guards were just as notorious as the inmates. Take Amos Lunt, for instance, who conducted 24 hangings over 5 years.
Wow.
He warned his successor, Frank Arbogast, about haunting voices and hallucinations. Lunt later ended up in an asylum, proving that in San Quentin, even the executioners weren't safe from the madness. Then there's Alfred Wells, an inmate who helped build San Quentin's gas chamber. After returning to society while on parole for armed robbery, he began dating his half-sister, which sparked a violent family feud. Wells murdered his half-brother, his half-brother's wife, and their younger friend. And sure enough, he found himself back at San Quentin, this time on death row. In 1942, he was killed in the very gas chamber he helped build.
Damn.
Yeah, talk about building your own destiny.
Right.
But San Quentin isn't all doom and gloom, believe it or not. In 1969, Johnny Cash performed live at the prison, a concert that was recorded and became one of his most iconic albums, Johnny Cash at San Quentin. He even debuted the hit song A Boy Named Sue during his performance. Perhaps the ultimate survival tip is this: even in the darkest corners, never miss a chance to find your soul and rhythm.
Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash, cash. Wow. Prison Blues. Do I know a song from him? Yeah, what's his most famous song? That's crazy. Wow. No.
Perhaps the ultimate survival tip is this: even in the darkest corners, never miss a chance to find your soul and rhythm. But enough about history. Let's imagine, hypothetically, you've been misunderstood by the justice system. Or perhaps there was a case of mistaken identity and now you're on a one-way trip to San Quentin. How do you survive a place designed to break you? Picture this. Your first day begins with a security clearance that's more intimate than your first colonoscopy.
No.
Fingerprints, mugshots, and a fashion downgrade to basic blue denim.
They pick you up butt crack of dawn, man. Before you get on the bus, of course, you gotta get shackled, belly chains, everything.
As you walk the echoing halls to your new studio apartment, a 4 by 10 foot cell, reality sinks in. Your fellow inmates warm up to you with grueling once-overs and casual threats. Welcome to your new home. Friendly advice: avoid discussing politics, religion, or who controls the TV remote. At dawn, you're greeted by the sweet serenade of clanging metal and distant shouting. Roll call is mandatory and bright and early. If you're not a morning person, well, you will be now.
Damn.
The food has improved over the years, but don't expect restaurant quality here. Meal times are strictly regimented and reflect the unwritten rules that govern life here. Inmates tend to eat with their own racial groups, and seating arrangements are enforced by inmate codes. As Louis Theroux observed during his visit, violating these unspoken rules can have serious consequences.
I can't tell you the code, you gotta know the code. I'm saying the whole cell might beat you.
Why?
That's the code, I don't know, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You gonna have to figure out why.
Navigating the yard is like walking a tightrope over a pit of hungry lions.
It's not the world, it's the people, man.
Exercise is essential.
Maybe that's what people that do outside too, I don't know.
To show you're not an easy target. Just remember, the weight benches aren't the only things that can crush you. Gangs are a reality here, each with its own territory, codes, and extreme ideologies. San Quentin is the territory, codes, and extreme ideologies. San Quentin is controlled by formidable factions like the Aryan Brotherhood, Black Guerrilla Family, Mexican Mafia, and the Nuestra Familia. These aren't just street gangs, they're shadow governments. Their ironclad codes dictate every aspect of life, like who you can talk to, where you sit, which shower you can use. Violating their unwritten laws is met with swift and brutal retribution
Well,
that
that's it.
makes
I wonder.
solitary confinement look like a vacation. In here, picking a side isn't about loyalty, it's about survival. Neutrality is a safe bet, but sometimes choosing no side is the quickest way to stand alone.
Different races have different areas.
Yeah, that's like the black area over there, the Norteño area over there, white area over here, Indians over there. We keep it segregated.
If you've managed to find a group to fit in with and haven't started a turf war, then it's time to find some activities. Afternoons are for work assignments or educational programs. You might make license plates, join the basketball team, or take classes.
Oh, wow.
Keeping busy isn't just a way to pass the time. It's a strategy to avoid becoming part of someone else's agenda. For some people, these programs are a way out. But more on that later. Dinner time at San Quentin is a highly orchestrated event. With nearly 5,000 dinner meals served each day, the culinary team works tirelessly to prepare the food. But this is where the real challenge begins.
There you gotta put them all
As you
together.
navigate the
That's
crowded
crazy.
room, you're keenly aware that where you sit isn't just about comfort. The hall is a patchwork of territories, each claimed by different gangs and racial groups. One wrong move, like sitting at the wrong table or in someone else's spot, can ignite tensions, turning a simple
Facts.
meal into a matter of survival. In San Quentin, even dinner comes with a side of danger. As the sun sets, you return to your cell. You should count your blessings if you've made it back in one piece. Lockdown commences and the prison's spine-chilling quietness settles in. Every inmate is confined to their cell, and all movement within the prison grinds to a halt. The silence during lockdown serves as a tool for control within the prison system, reinforcing authority and minimizing opportunities for coordinated disturbances. Consequences for breaking the lockdown could mean solitary confinement or even an extended lockdown for the entire cell block. Trust me, you do not want to be that guy. This is when tensions can rise. Your mind can start to get paranoid about every creak and shadow. A good book or a hobby can keep your mind occupied, and less focused on the unsettling sounds echoing through the halls.
Facts.
This was especially important if you were an inmate on death row. Here, life took on a whole new level of isolation. Confined to a tiny cell, every movement was monitored. You'd be stripped and handcuffed for even the smallest infractions. One inmate remarked,
"I don't think lions and tigers should be locked up like this."
with executions put on pause in California since 2006, inmates faced indefinite
Death row
limbo
people are
for
like
years,
by themselves.
adding to the
I didn't
mental
even know
strain.
that.
Some prisoners took extreme measures to get their cases looked at.
I killed my cellie. That's the only way I was going to be able to get back into court, to do something like that.
But where you end up in death row was just as important. There was the quiet section, called North Segregation, or North Seg, built in 1934 for prisoners who didn't cause trouble. Then there was the East Block, a sprawl of 520 one-man cells stacked on top of one another in 5 tiers. And last but not least was the area known as the Adjustment Center, strictly reserved for the worst of the worst. It had the highest security in the entire prison. Inmates here were too violent to be held anywhere else. The cells had solid cement doors. This was implemented in 1978 to prevent inmates from throwing feces at the guards. Yikes, that's a tough gig. But luckily for you, death row is a thing of the past. More on that soon. For now, you'll need to lay low if you want to live longer than your sentence.
That's crazy. Survival. What you gotta do to survive?
First rule of surviving San Quentin today: respect is a two-way street paved with caution signs. Building alliances can offer protection, but choose wisely. Friendships here are as stable as a house of cards in a wind tunnel. Avoid conflicts by minding your own business. If trouble finds you, defuse it with words, not fists. Remember, a black eye heals faster than a stab wound. Guards hold the keys, literally and figuratively. Show respect, follow the rules, and
Namaste.
Just maybe you'll get that extra phone call or a heads up about potential trouble. But be cautious. Pushing boundaries can land you in hot water. Inmates continually test the limits. Smuggling contraband like homemade cell phones can seem tempting, but comes with severe consequences. Getting caught with contraband isn't just a slap on the wrist, it's more like a kick to the teeth, followed by a one-way trip to the hole where daylight is a forgotten friend. We're talking extended sentences, solitary confinement so deep as if you've been buried alive, and privileges stripped away faster than you can say contraband. But wait, there's more. You'll become a person of interest to both the guards and your fellow inmates. Disrupting the delicate ecosystem of this concrete jungle doesn't win you any friends. It's like painting a target on your back. With that in mind, you'll need to stay in shape.
Prison Break.
Mental and
I gotta
physical
watch
health
that.
are your lifelines.
I'm not even finished yet.
Dive into the prison library
For the first
or
time.
enroll in educational programs.
The community college, believed to be the first in the nation with a campus inside a prison, is the latest addition to rehabilitation programs provided to California inmates.
It's about more than just passing time. At San Quentin, the Prison University Project has enabled over 4,500 inmates to earn college credits, and some have even obtained degrees behind bars. Education here isn't just a privilege. It's a lifeline that can redefine your future. Remember what we mentioned about working out? In places like San Quentin, fitness isn't just a hobby, it's survival. Some inmates commit to extreme routines like hundreds of burpees every day. This level of physical conditioning isn't just for show. It's a deterrent against potential threats. Being in peak shape sends a clear message. You're not an easy target. Others find solace in yoga and meditation, maintaining inner peace amidst chaos. An occupied mind is less likely to spiral into the abyss. But despite your best efforts, violence can be as unpredictable as it is brutal. In 2010, child murderer Edward Schaefer was fatally attacked with a homemade weapon, a bone crusher fashioned from bed parts. But that wasn't the first time San Quentin's walls have seen this much bloodshed. Back in August 1971, the prison descended into chaos during one of its deadliest riots. An attempted escape by George Jackson, a prominent inmate and activist, ignited a violent uprising. Inmates armed themselves with smuggled guns and improvised weapons,
Smuggled
turning the
guns?
cell blocks into a battleground. By the time the dust settled, 3 correctional officers and 3 inmates were dead. This is a stark reminder that in San Quentin, violence can erupt like a sudden storm. Inmates have long memories and their own code of justice. So you've finally gotten accustomed to the hellish nature of this prison. Prison life is starting to seem manageable. But it's 2020 and you're blissfully ignorant that the world has been brought to a stop by the COVID-19 pandemic. During this time, San Quentin became a hotspot for the coronavirus. Over 1,000 inmates tested positive, turning the prison into a humanitarian crisis.
How?
One inmate described it as like a horror movie where you have nowhere to run. Overcrowding and poor sanitation turned the prison into a petri dish. The virus didn't spare death row either, adding another layer of anxiety to an already uncertain existence. The impact extended beyond inmates too.
That's crazy.
Staff members and their families were affected, with lawsuits alleging negligence in handling the pandemic. But change is on the horizon. As of 2019, California's governor, Gavin Newsom, has put a moratorium on the death penalty, calling it state-sponsored premeditated murder.
To me, this is the right thing to do.
For the first time in California's history, eligible individuals on death row can now be placed in general population areas, where they have increased access to job opportunities and rehabilitation programs, similar to inmates serving life sentences without parole.
Wait, they still get into death penalties, right?
Being able to move around, talk, do things on my own, maybe get a job.
These programs are gaining traction, aiming to transform San Quentin from a warehouse of despair to a center of reform. For instance, the prison's Guiding Rage into Power program addresses anger management and emotional healing, helping over 1,000 inmates reduce violent behavior and reconnect with their humanity. These initiatives aren't just buzzwords. They're changing lives one inmate at a time.
Facts.
Through programs like The Last Mile, inmates are learning to code and even developing apps, all within prison walls. One participant, Kenyatta Lael, went from serving a life sentence to becoming a manager at a tech company after his release. These aren't just classes. They're offering a real chance at a second act. It's a glimmer of hope in a place that's been shrouded in darkness for over a century.
But
surviving San Quentin,
the people that's put to death, like death penalty, they're still getting death penalties, I'm assuming.
Isn't just about dodging danger. It's about finding purpose in a place designed to strip you of it. While escape is virtually impossible, sorry, this isn't a Hollywood movie, enduring and emerging stronger is the ultimate victory. So, if you want to avoid neighbors that prefer shanks over handshakes, it's best to stay on the right side of the law, especially if you're a drug lord like El Chapo. We'll explore why he needed over-the-top prison security in another episode of How to Survive.
Oh shit. It's W like a slide.